of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize, sweet Belize, land of the islands and keys, land of the barrier reef. I love me sweet Belize. If I ever had to leave Belize, if I ever had to leave Belize, where would I go? Where would I go? Where would I spread my bed? Where would I lay my head? Nobody know, nobody know. If I ever had to leave me home, no other place I ever roam could be like Belize, be like Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize, sweet Belize, land of the islands and keys, land of the barrier reef. I love me sweet Belize. Creole and Garifuna.
Here we are to do this beautiful devotion this morning. So we're going to talk about the book of Micah today. And Micah is one of the books that I love because it talks about that time before Israel was chastised, what was expected of them. And as we go into Micah chapter 6, it says, the call to listen. This is a problem. People are caught up in their own things, and sometimes when us as pastors would go out and preach, they will hear what they think you're talking about them and not to them, that they may change their ways. And it's not that we're picking on anybody and saying things that we say because we know things about people. But every time the word of God goes out, it will affect some people because people will always be guilty. And so it's not that us pastors preach against people. It's that we preach the truth, and the truth sets some people free, but for some other people, the truth aggravates them. Verse 9, Micah 6:9 says, the Lord's voice cries to the city, wisdom fears your name. Hear the rod and him who appointed it. The whip is about to fall, and it's God appointing it. You think the people would say, I am going to change my ways? We ought to. God's voice is the voice of authority. God isn't whispering. He's crying out to the city, to Jerusalem. This is the way he's crying out to Belize. Look how many people died over the Belize in this weekend. Gunshot. One group of people seem as if though people are retaliating and shooting each other. You know, it's not even people are like hiding. People are just getting crazy and doing some bad stuff. In broad daylight, our young men, especially our black young men, they have become expert at killing each other. The voice of the Lord is crying out against that. You know, wisdom has a definition, because here it's talking about wisdom, to listen to the voice of God. True wisdom is recognizing God's authority, fearing his name even before the discipline arrives. Because discipline is going to come. And the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And in that first verse, you might ask, what is the rod? The rod symbolizes correction. God is telling the people to listen to the purpose behind their current hardship. Things going on, you work, you do all kind of things, you try to get things going, but somehow it's not working out. And it's saying here that there's a reason for that. In our country, when the hardship comes, people don't even pay attention to figure out where it's coming from. You know, they try to think about it as coming from the hands of man and what they can do to modify it, when it actually is punishment from God. And the reason why the punishment is coming down, people don't spend time trying to figure it out. Verse 10 says, can I forget any longer the treasures of wickedness in the house of the wicked, and the scant measure that is a curse? Shall I acquit the man with the wicked scales and with a bag of deceitful weights? Now, it's talking about where this has to do with people taking things that don't concern them. I tell you, in the system, when you deal with the government departments now, sometimes it's shocking to see how these public officers treat the public. It's not even, it has many times nothing to do with the politicians. It's just public officers just treating each other harshly, treating the public harshly, sometimes doing wrong for people in authority. And this is what was being complained about here. It goes like that because people were taking things that did not belong to them for themselves and believing God wasn't watching. So this treasure of wickedness that they're talking about, you think there's treasure of wickedness in Belize? Of course there are treasures of wickedness. These are profits made through exploitation. God views wealth gained dishonestly not as a blessing, but as evidence of sin. We see it all around us. Public officers, politicians, going about their business and doing some crazy stuff where they get things that is not given to them by God. They use their office to manipulate people. It's a reality. And God is going to judge as a consequence of that. Then it talks about discount measures. The merchants were using a smaller ephah, in this time in Jerusalem, a unit of dry measure to give customers less than they were paid for. Go to the Chinese store and you'll see what they do now. They don't put a pound on the bag or 5 pounds. They don't put that because if the people who are serious about their job would go in there and weigh the stuff, they would see that the stuff is shorter than that it's used. It has less in there than is mark on the bag. So they only put a price. They put the cost of it. That's what they do. But I always think about myself going to the shop. Back in the day, I know what a pound of something looks like in a 1 pound bag. I know what a 5 pound looks like. I know those because those are the most time you're going to buy that 1 pound or 5 pound. Now I look at those things, I am sure that they have less. So God is talking about these unfair scales. And this is from Bible, my friends. This is not me just picking on people. So the Bible was talking about in this passage of scripture, because the people in authority were taking advantage of those who couldn't help themselves. The deceitful weights in the marketplace, weights were used to balance scales, using light weights to buy and heavy weights to sell was a common form of systemic fraud. So when they were buying, they used one type, and when they were selling, they used another type. So in other words, they were profiting from the people that they were buying from and the people that they were selling to. Today, in a lot of those Chinese stores, go and you will see that's the practice. You go to market to, seems sometimes as if the one person has a price. There's a price for one individual and another price for another individual. The people who plant don't make money. It's the ones, the middlemen, who go and exploit them out in their farms and they come and sell the stuff for so much times over. Those are unfair scales, and God is saying He's going to judge His people as a consequence of that. And we're seeing if God is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow, we too are going to fall into that judgment if we don't fix these things in our society. It talks about, in verse 12, it says, your rich men are full of violence. Your inhabitants speak lies, and their tongues is deceitful in their mouth. People were focused on wealth. Just like today, when I hear the police come and said, this murder or this killing or happen as a consequence of drugs. Ultimately, drugs is money. That's what it is. And these people go after each other. They kill each other for that dirty money. Wealth of violence. So the prophet Micah connects financial greed with physical or social violence. That is happening in Belize today. Using power to crush those who have none. So the lord of one area, sometimes they go in and set up drugs things in an area, and the people in authority, be it the drugs men or somebody from the system, the lord over that area. There's strong suspicion that some of these guys who sell drugs to the policemen. In our community, it is whispered. Just imagine that oxymoronic mindset that the people who are supposed to be protecting are the very ones who are taking the drugs into these areas to be sold so that they can live their highfalutin life. Pretending as if though they don't see the impact that it has on the people who they are selling it to. Wealth of violence. Cultural deceit. Dishonesty has become so normalized that it was the standard language of the inhabitants. Go out and speak against dishonesty. I found myself in a situation speaking and acting against dishonesty and heavily chastised by the people for that. Hated by the very people you think you're trying to protect. And I speak for everybody who does it. You're chastised, you're looked down upon as if though you're doing something that really and truly irks the people, something that is not good for the people. So sometimes when these things happen, it's because there is a connection, that there is a There's a link between the ones doing it and the ones who are receiving. Verse 13 to 15 says the futility of disobedience. And disobedience means going against the word of God. Therefore, I strike you with a grievous blow, making you desolate. So God said, because of your sins. Making you desolate because of your sins. You shall eat but not be satisfied. You shall sow but not reap. You shall tread olives but not anoint yourself with oil. In other words, God is saying that all this effort you make is going to be in vain. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the 11th hour. We're talking because it's time that people wake up and try to do what is right in the sight of the Lord. We thank you greatly for listening this morning.
Welcome to another 60-second health talk. Today, we're going to be talking about the eye. Our eyes are like sophisticated cameras that helps us to see the world all around us. Light enters through the cornea, the clear outer layer of the eye, and passes through the pupil, the black circular opening. The size of the pupil will adjust to control the amount of light entering. From there, light travels through the lens, which focuses it onto the retina at the back of the eye. The retina is made up of millions of light-sensitive cells, which converts light into electrical signals. These signals are sent to the brain via the optic nerve, where they are interpreted as images. The muscle around the eye helps it to focus and move to track objects. Together, these parts work seamlessly to provide us with vision. But any disruption, such as eye injury or disease, can affect our ability to see clearly. To protect our eyes, wear sunglasses that block UV rays. Use safety goggles when necessary. Take breaks from screens using the 20-20-20 rule. Keep eyes hydrated by blinking often, and get regular eye exams to catch problems early. These simple habits help to maintain our overall eye health. Thank you for joining me. This is Madeline Tucker, your medical scientist, here with another 60-second health talk.
Are you looking for financing on equipment, machinery, vehicles, parts, or tools for you or your business? Benquip and Belize Bank have partnered to make purchasing easier than ever with Belize Bank's convenient online loan application platform. Simply apply online, get fast and secure financing, and access the equipment or vehicle you need to keep moving forward. Even better, use the promo code when applying and enjoy a special promotional interest rate exclusively for Benquip customers. Whether you're upgrading your fleet, investing in new machinery, or purchasing essential parts and equipment, now is the perfect time to make it happen. Visit Benquip today and ask about Belize Bank online loan financing.
Serious about your sound? So are we. At Lavitza, music isn't just business, it's our vibe. From first-time players to seasoned pros, Belize chooses Lavitza. Whether you're a solo artist, band, church, school, or marching band, we speak your language. Experience the crisp keys of a Yamaha, the legendary beat of Pearl and Tama drums, and a premium selection of guitars, mics, mixers, and speakers. We only stock the best. Gear that's built to perform, designed to last, and backed by expert service with a smile. At Lavitza, it's about more than the equipment. It's about friendship and the joy of making music. Your passion is our mission. No cash? No worries. Ask about our flexible payment plans. From the mainland to the islands, we ship countrywide. Lavitza, The good stuff at better prices.
Welcome to the William David Fonseca Parking Facility, your modern solution for safe and convenient parking in downtown Belize City. With easy payment options such as prepaid cards or coins, parking downtown has never been easier. Enjoy affordable rates as low as 75 cents for 15 minutes, $1.50 for 30 minutes, and $3 for an hour. Open and available 24/7. Park smart. Park safe. Park at the William David Fonseca Parking Facility. Modern, secure, convenient. Your Belize City Council. Always about the people.
Mom.
Drop it like it's hot.
So it started off like any other summer day in Belize. I decided to go down to Builders Hardware since I hear they had 25% off on summer outdoor products. I got a couple of items, a chair, a grill, a cooler, and I got carried away, but the prices were so good. But anyways, I might have gotten comfortable, maybe too comfortable. Then I saw the news, and the hurricane season was not playing with me. But thank God Builders also had 25% off hurricane preparedness items as well. Flashlights, batteries, sealant, first aid kits, everything I need. And guess what? My grill survived.
There's a few staples that you need to stick to in order to want to be successful. And I call it my 3 C's. It's communication, it's commitment, and it's consistency. So even if you might not necessarily know where you want to go, you have to make sure you communicate what it is you want to do. And after that communication is clear, then you have to be committed to that communication that you mentioned. And finally, you have to make sure that you're consistent, because there's a small number in the population that's very talented and do not really have to put in the hard work. We did the Super Nationals because we want to see the really good athletes in every district, but we also want to make sure that as a government, we're finding and making sure that the resources that we have as a government goes to the athletes that are trying to do better in life and in school.
Cyber Realty and Development is the leader in providing solutions to the current land crisis in Belize. For homeowners and investors alike, Cyber Realty is offering special deals on half-acre parcels in its new Emery Village development. Enjoy prime land off mile 37 on the George Price Highway at an unbeatable price. All you need is the initial down payment of $275 Belize dollars. Take advantage and reserve your half-acre home sites today. Emery Village. Join the community. Invest in your future.
Blessed Gardens is servicing home gardens across the country from the nation's capital and helping Belizeans reconnect with nature. We have everything you need for your home garden, so get growing. We have various types of soil: fortified soil, composted soil, potting soil, and pure compost for your garden.
We have quality seeds and over 65 varieties of food seedlings for your garden. We even have organic insecticides available, EM soil treatment, and Polyshade for your excessive sun or rain. Blessed Gardens has all your garden solution in one location. Call 610-5679. Visit us at the Bumapan Market Plaza or enjoy our free deliveries across the country. Blessed Gardens. Get growing, Belize.
So when we face God, you know something. When I think of the love of the Lord.
Spice up your next event with professional lighting. Call 610-5679 and give your audience an experience they'll never forget. Proper stage lighting ensures stage visibility, motivates, and sets the mood of the atmosphere. We provide services for weddings, concerts, parties, dance recitals, and much more. Captivate your audience. Improve your production today. Call Shamax Productions at 610-5679 for quality and professional stage lighting.
I can't feel to see it.
Okay, that's good. Oh, hi, and welcome to another 60-second health talk. Today, we're going to be talking about the eye. Our eyes are like sophisticated cameras that helps us to see the world all around us. Light enters through the cornea, the clear outer layer of the eye, and passes through the pupil, the black circular opening. The size of the pupil will adjust to control the amount of light entering. From there, light travels through the lens, which focuses it onto the retina at the back of the eye. The retina is made up of millions of light-sensitive cells, which converts light into electrical signals. These signals are sent to the brain via the optic nerve, where they are interpreted as images. The muscle around the eye helps it to focus and move to track objects. Together, these parts work seamlessly to provide us with vision. But any disruption, such as eye injury or disease, can affect our ability to see clearly. To protect our eyes, wear sunglasses that block UV rays. Use safety goggles when necessary. Take breaks from screens using the 20-20-20 rule. Keep eyes hydrated by blinking often, and get regular eye exams to catch problems early. These simple habits help to maintain our overall eye health. Thank you for joining me. This is Madeline Tucker, your medical scientist, here with another 60-second health talk.
Are you you looking for financing on equipment, machinery, vehicles, parts, or tools for you or your business? Benquip and Belize Bank have partnered to make purchasing easier than ever with Belize Bank's convenient online loan application platform. Simply apply online, get fast and secure financing, and access the equipment or vehicle you need to keep moving forward. Even better, use the promo code when applying and enjoy a special promotional interest rate exclusively for Benquip customers. Whether you're upgrading your fleet, investing in new machinery, or purchasing essential parts and equipment, now is the perfect time to make it happen. Visit Benquip today and ask about Belize Bank online loan financing.
Serious about your sound? So are we. At Levitza, music isn't just business, it's our vibe. From first-time players to seasoned pros, Belize chooses Levitza. Whether you're a solo artist, band, church, school, or marching band, we speak your language. Experience the crisp keys of a Yamaha, the legendary beat of Pearl and Tama drums, and a premium selection of guitars, mics, mixers, and speakers. We only stock the best. Gear that's built to perform, designed to last, and backed by expert service with a smile. At Levitza, it's about more than the equipment. It's about friendship and the joy of making music. Your passion is our mission. No cash? No worries. Ask about our flexible payment plans. From the mainland to the islands, we ship countrywide. Levitza, the good stuff at better prices.
Welcome for 50 cents for 30 minutes and $3 for an hour. Open and available 24/7. Park smart. Park safe. Park at the William David Fonseca parking facility. Modern, secure, convenient. Your Belize City Council. Always about the people.
Mom.
Drop it like it's hot.
So it started off like any other summer day in Belize. I decided to go down to Builders Hardware since I heard they had 25% off on summer outdoor products. I got a couple of items, a chair, a grill, a cooler, and I got carried away, but the prices were so good. But anyways, I might have gotten comfortable, maybe too comfortable. Then I saw the news, man, the hurricane season was not playing with me. But thank God Builders also had 25% off hurricane preparedness items as well. Flashlights, batteries, sealant, first aid kits, everything I need. And guess what? My grill survived.
There's a few staples that you need to stick to in order to want to be successful. And I call it my 3 C's. It's communication, it's commitment, and it's consistency. So even if you might not necessarily know where you want to go, you have to make sure you communicate what it is you want to do. And after that communication is clear, then you have to be committed to that communication that you mentioned. And finally, you have to make sure that you're consistent, because there's a small number in the population that's very talented and do not really have to put in the hard work. We did the Super Nationals because we want to see the really good athletes in every district, but we also want to make sure that as a government, we're finding and making sure that the resources that we have as a government goes to the athletes that are trying to do better in life and in school.
Realty and Development is the leader in providing solutions to the current land crisis in Belize. For homeowners and investors alike, Cyber Realty is offering special deals on half-acre parcels in its new Emery Village development. Enjoy prime land off mile 37 on the George Price Highway at an unbeatable price. All you need is the initial down payment of $275 Belize dollars. Take advantage and reserve your half-acre home sites today. Emery Village. Join the community. Invest in your future.
Blessed Gardens is servicing home gardens across the country from the nation's capital and helping Belizeans reconnect with nature. We have everything you need for your home garden, so get growing. We have various types of soils: fortified soil, composted soil, potting soil, and pure compost for your garden. We have quality seeds and over 65 varieties of food seedlings for your garden. We even have organic insecticides available, EM soil treatment, and Polyshade for your excessive sun or rain. Blessed Gardens has all your garden solution in one location. Call 610-5679. Visit us at the Bumapan Market Plaza or enjoy our free deliveries across the country. Blessed Gardens. Get growing, Belize.
So everybody, so when me face got it, when I think I the love got it right.
Spice up your next event with professional lighting. Call 610-5679 and give your audience an experience they'll never forget. Proper stage lighting ensures stage visibility, motivates, and sets the mood of the atmosphere. We provide services for weddings, concerts, parties, dance recitals, and much more. Captivate your audience. Improve your production today. Call Shamax Productions at 610-5679 for quality and professional stage lighting.
I can't feel to see it and run up.
Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the islands and keys, land of the barrier reef. I love me sweet Belize. If I ever had to leave Belize, if I ever had to leave Belize, where would I go? Where would I go? Where would I spread my bed? Where would I lay my head? Nobody know. Nobody know. If I ever had to leave me home, no other place me ever roam could be like Belize. Be like Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the Isles and Keys, land of the Barrier Reef. I love me sweet Belize. Creole and Garifuna. Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the Isles and Keys, land of the Barrier Reef. I love me sweet Belize. If I ever had to leave Belize, if I ever had to leave Belize, where would I go? Where would I go? Where would I spread my bed? Where would I lay my head? Nobody know. Nobody know. If I ever had to leave me home, no other place I ever roam could be like Belize. Be like Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the Isles and Keys, land of the Barrier Reef. I love me sweet Belize. Creole and Garifuna. Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the Isles and Keys, land of the Barrier Reef. I love me sweet Belize. If I ever had to leave Belize, if I ever had to leave Belize, where would I go? Where would I go? Where would I spread my bed? Where would I lay my head? Nobody know. Nobody know. If I ever had to leave me home, no other place I ever roam could be like Belize. Be like Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the Isles and Keys, land of the Barrier Reef. I love me sweet Belize. Creole and Garifuna. Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the Isles and Keys, land of the Barrier Reef. I love me sweet Belize. If I ever had to leave Belize, if I ever had to leave Belize, where would I go? Where would I go? Where would I spread my bed? Where would I lay my head? Nobody know. Nobody know. If I ever had to leave me home, no other place I ever roam could be like Belize. Be like Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the Isles and Keys, land of the Barrier Reef. I love me sweet Belize.
Have you with us this morning, and we want to say good morning from the beautiful capital city of Belmopan, and welcome to the whole nation of Belize, from Corozal to Punta Gorda, and from Benque all the way out to the Keys. And so it's a foggy morning in Belmopan, and normally they say when it's foggy in the morning it's going to be sunshiny and hot, but we'll see. It's rainy season. You never know what's going to happen. And but anyways, we want to welcome you to this morning's time. We're gonna be talking about leadership this morning, and on Wednesday morning, Pastor David Shaw and myself hosted a guest, our dear friend Alberti Reyes from Dominican Republic, and he serves as our Belize overseer and coordinator with the Global Leadership Summit, and he's also he's a certified trainer with John Maxwell Training. If you know anything about John Maxwell, he's considered the guru of leadership. I think he's written over 80 books about leadership, and every time I listen to him speak, I'm always gleaning or pulling something from that. And so anyways, Alberti is a very experienced leader with Global Leadership Summit. And then Wednesday we were talking about Capital Ministries, which is another ministry that he's involved with, which is engaging legislators in governments, United States and actually all over the world, and encouraging leaders in those nations to be engaging with legislators and government leaders through Bible study ministry and being able to understand the Word of God and how that affects things like laws and legislation and actually whole nations. And so very, very effective ministry. That's why I'm part of that together with him. But anyways, this morning, Alberti, want to say good morning to you, and so welcome to the show again.
Thank you. I feel just like home, and thank you for having me here. And I'm from Dominican Republic, for everybody to know, and the weather is so similar that I feel right at home. Yeah. So it's good to be here. To all of the people that follow Rise and Shine and in every single spot and place here in Belize. So thank you for having me here, and I hope that we can have a wonderful conversations, and I hope that you also have a great day wherever you're driving, either studying, watching from home, from whenever. So thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, very good. And I've traveled to a number of Caribbean nations and islands, and I find that I see the similar plants. Even weeds and grass, I notice, like we've got the similar things, but I was on an outreach to Thailand a number of years back, and all the way on the other side of the world, but in the same kind of tropical climate, and the same exact plants, the same exact weeds, the same exact flowers, and I thought, wow, this is amazing, right? But yeah, I'm sure it's true in Dominican. Yes.
Sour sap, that's my favorite. We call it guanabana in DR, but that's my favorite.
Yeah, that's right. Sour sap is just 2 syllables. Guanabana is 4, and so
it's a handful. Guanabana.
Guanabana. And so my daughter at their house, they've got a small sour sap tree with a large sour sap about like this big. So everybody's eyeballing that, right?
I mean that plan is so interesting because it's a really thin plan. Normally it's leaning onto something, but you don't need to be a big tree to bear wonderful juicy fruits, and that's what our guanabana sour sap can teach us, that you don't need to be a huge tree to bear good fruit.
Yeah. And I found out yesterday that that the sour sap leaf, and I heard the story of someone who had a brain aneurysm, and then because of the brain aneurysm had a stroke, and then because of the stroke had something else that happened, and what was told to me was he was told by a Belizean herbalist, to drink sour sap leaf tea 3 times a day, and when that guy started on that, like, he made an amazing recovery. What my friend told me is that he was walking like this, right, after the stroke and stuff like that, and in a very short time afterwards, when he like full recovery and and carrying heavy things, picking up suitcases and 5-gallon water bottles and stuff like this. Whereas after that stroke, there was no way that he could do that. So I just want to say, God knows what He's doing when He made these things. He created all of this stuff right within our system. And so, anyways, you might want to think about that.
I don't know how true is that, and I have to be careful because my wife is a doctor, and
she's a medical doctor.
Yeah, she's a nutritionist. So, but there's always many case studies of how soursop, fruit and seeds and everything involved with it is being checked out to help out, alleviate cancer.
It's definitely beyond a shadow of a doubt. It's anti-cancer because I've had friends that utilize that heavily in their protocol, and so yeah. So, anyways, enough on the health stuff. But Calberti, we've got some big stuff swirling around in Belize. Okay. I would imagine in Dominican Republic, it's similar, right? The Bible says the human heart or the heart of man is deceitfully wicked, and who can know it, right? And what that's referring to, it's talking about that carnal flesh nature, that selfish, greedy thing that if people are left to themselves without boundaries, without the embracing of boundaries, correct, it turns into a really ugly, nasty thing. And we had a meeting until pretty late last night, correct, right? And but we were talking about a number of different things in relation to the nation, but I think one of the most important things that I was encouraging somebody, people like to complain about our country, or people in the United States like to complain, about the United States, and I would encourage them to go move to another country, especially in the developing world. Go move to another country and gain a sense of appreciation for the country that we have. We were having a conversation before you guys showed up last night for the meeting, where some of the ladies were talking about when they went to Africa, and the latrine that they had, like there was no toilet. And this lady was saying, no, I'm not using that little hole in the floor. No, I'm not doing this. And they said, well, there's a church down the road about a mile, and they have a toilet, right? And she's got to go to the bathroom, but she's having to walk, a mile down the road just to be able to find the toilet, right? And I'm not saying that in any disrespect to that African country. What I'm saying is that it's so easy for us to lose sight of the tremendous blessing. I mean, like pretty much everywhere all over in Belize, even when you're back in the bush and you have a latrine, we have some kind of toilet thing somehow, some way.
And a structure.
And structure, right? And we are blessed, and so we always need to keep that in mind. And is there room for improvement? Yes, there is. But what we're talking about is that when that deceitfully wicked heart of man gets in there with no boundaries and no rules, things start to turn into chaos and disorder. And what's happening now is this thing is rupturing, and it's spilling forth, and well, anyways, tell us a little bit about Dominican Republic. I'm sure you guys don't have any problems in Dominican Republic.
We're a nation where everybody respect the laws of traffic. We are almost 3 million in Santo Domingo, and probably out of those 3 millions, probably close to 2 are motorcycles. So if you've seen videos of India, that's a little bit closer to what the Dominican Republic is at.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we as a nation also are facing a great opportunity of how do we develop the state, and how do we move away from old habits. But still, for the Dominican Republic, we're still dealing with corruption. We're still dealing with people using their position to enrich themselves. And we are a nation that it's produced a lot. So now people are in the middle of talking about, more taxes because of all of the oil problems within the world. But then people are asking, okay, so if we are asking for more taxes, what's the government is doing to lower the expense that the government is doing? And all of that, those conversations are part of our nation. And as many nations, it falls into whoever is in the top, whoever is calling the shots, whoever is in positions of leadership affects the character of those persons, affect the nation. And we get to see that all over the place. And I really like a quote that Bukele was saying when he was checking out a brand new hospital. He says, when there's no corruption, there's not enough money to do a lot of things. So I really believe that in our countries we are dealing with that, and definitely we need systems that help us out to hold us accountable. But at the same time, your character is what holds you accountable.
That's right.
And that's where leadership really needs to improve and make sure that one day you have to give an account and be held accountable before God for anything that you do. Definitely that have to change the way you see. And also you think about that the Lord is the one that puts the leaders, and when he gives you an opportunity to lead a nation, what comes with that is also responsibility.
That's right. Mm-hmm. That's right, and that's the ultimate definition of leadership, mm-hmm. right? And so it's administration, it's management, and it's responsibility. And but what happens many times is leaders will make statements like, "Well, I didn't know about that," and then try and skirt what they call it plausible deniability. And so sometimes they intentionally don't tell the top leader to where they won't know anything about that, to where they can have that plausible deniability. If everything explodes and ruptures, right, then to be able to say, well, no, I wasn't aware of that. And then somebody to step up and say, no, we did not tell him, about that. But that happened with President Ronald Reagan in the United States. Iran-Contra thing, right? They intentionally did not tell him. He wasn't aware. And he said, I was not aware of these things. It shocked and surprised me. But then he followed it up with the right statement. The buck stops here with me. I am responsible. Most leaders won't take that second step, right? Mm-hmm. But that's at the very core essence of leadership is taking responsibility. And I think one of the other things that is so important, and I think for us here in Belize, we struggle in this area, but setting things in order, right? Mm-hmm. And so Satan is the god of disorder. And so, when you see countries that are given over to witchcraft and all this kind of terrible stuff, and everything's broken down and families are broken down and there's chaos and disorder, because the devil is the god of disorder. But the Bible says that God is a God of order, mm-hmm. right? And God actually helps us to be able to set things in order in our lives to where that we can function and operate in His blessing. And so, but the blessing must come with order, mm-hmm. and order is so extremely important. And order means laws and what they call rule of law. Our Constitution says that men and institutions only remain free with the embracing of moral and spiritual values and the rule of law. And mm-hmm. and yet what we find in many times in these different situations of corruption in Dominican Republic, in Belize as well, that thing of the rule of law just kind of gets thrown away. There's policies, there's laws, mm-hmm. What's coming out right now, in the news is the fact that all these contracts are being awarded to different people. Some of them are family members, mm-hmm. some of them are other political cronies. But then the law, L-A-W, the law is that those contracts are supposed to go out for tender. right?
Correct.
And then that allows for people to be able to bid. So what's happening is contracts are being awarded that did not go out to tender. So that means nobody else has a shot at that. That means somebody from the inside has made an executive decision. These ones are going to get this money, and so anyways,
it's interesting you say that. If you guys wanna check this Bible study in Capital Ministry website that is called capbing.org. The name of the Bible study is called Righteous Leadership Exalts a Nation. And it's interesting that, in Proverbs, Solomon, that is, was one of the wisest rulers, he repeatedly say how important it is for government or for ruling of a king to be righteous, and he says one of the famous proverbs in Proverbs 14:34 says righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a disgrace to any people.
That's right.
And one of the things that we come to say, and when we are teaching or sitting down to study the Bible with any legislator, when we teach this Bible study, there's 5 distinctive characteristics of righteousness. And one of them, one more time, you can go and check it out at the Bible study in capming.org. One of those says that to be righteous, it means that you are called to serve, not to benefit from. And probably some of the things that and the reason when we are we just feel so bad. We feel that we are getting robbed from something is because definitely it shows that when you elect an official, is in order to administrate wisely the goods of the country. So when we understand that when you're in office, you ought to be there to distribute the wealth, to make sure that, to be a good judge. So we're talking about law. So to be a good judge, but you cannot be a good judge if you're actually making a benefit from the goods that you are providing. So
your father was a judge, right? That's
correct.
That's where you learned and observed that, right?
Well, definitely.
And he had a pretty strict reputation, I think, right?
Correct. In spaces like where people relax the law and where people wanna be benefit by the positions that he have. One of the main characteristics that I'm very proud of my father, it was that he was always a just man, and people were always saying that for him to become a judge actually didn't help out to increase his prosperity, that he become probably not as wealthy as he could just because of his position.
Yeah.
And he took a lot of pride onto being judge. And it's interesting because what does that make for a family? And it start the leadership. We always talk about leadership and how they affect in the big picture, but we always say that it starts in the family. When I know that my father is somebody that has been a reference for good conduct, what does that do in all of his children? I mean, not everybody will react the same, but for me, it's a must that I must honor what I receive in my household. And that is a ripple effect that continue with my children, and I hope that I continue with their children. So we're not going to say that it's going to be perfect, but it starts on how do you model good leadership, good stewardship, and righteousness on your own house.
Yeah, that's right. And so it's a matter of doing the right thing, and that's what blesses countries, right? That nations become blessed. That's why it says when the righteous are in leadership, or you could even flip it around and say, well, those who are in leadership are righteous, because any person can embrace righteousness or they can embrace unrighteousness, right? But when those in leadership embrace righteousness, the nation is blessed. Right? And, but what does it say? What's the contrast?
Proverbs 16:12, right? Let's read this one. It says, "It's an abomination for kings to commit wicked acts, But for a throne is established on righteousness.
Yeah, that's right.
So definitely, when you establish your throne, when you establish everything, your values for righteousness, definitely that's gonna, if we just analyze, wicked act won't be part of you. That's a contract. The big contract is like, if you're righteousness, you're not gonna allow wicked acts to be performed or to happen under your watch. There's a really good example. We all love Samuel, right? We all love Samuel. But if we remember, when God called Samuel, the main reason is that the high priest of that time, his sons, they were commercializing with faith.
Yeah.
And he knew,
and
sexualizing it. They were doing the wrong thing because, and he could say, well, I wasn't doing it. But he knew that his sons were doing all this part. So God, what has to do? God has to find somebody else, because his lack of leadership and for what it was going on under his household, it was affecting the nation. And probably that's the interesting thing, that because when we elect an official and when we vote for somebody, normally we don't vote for his cabinet, but we are expecting that his values are the ones that are spread around to the people that he actually did.
That's right. That's right. And so in that example that you were talking about, you know, for Samuel as an older man, his sons were full adults. Like, we might not necessarily have control over what other people do, but for Eli, he was the priest.
He was a priest.
His job would have been, okay, if these guys aren't living up to the code, if it's not in their heart, I need to remove them as priests. And he failed to remove them as priests, right? And the same exact thing works with government. Like, you know, the prime minister in the news last night and over the last several nights has been talking about you know, things that he was unaware of, and you know, and when I read that, I realize, yes, like a leader, a prime minister is not the micromanager of every little nitpicky detail, right? That's actually an impossibility. But how many people do they have working for them? They have a lot of people, and then you start that with top leaders, you know, which is your CEOs, and then your financial officers, and all of these different, they've got lots of people that are working for them. It's leadership's job to set the standard, and if that standard is not being held fast, then somebody needs to be removed.
There's an old saying that if you want to see the character of somebody, give him money or give him power. And it's interesting, I say that because also the human nature of this party, you can have the deceiving part of wickedness is that normally you don't put it in you don't present it in your forehead, that your intentions.
Right.
So you can hang out with somebody and probably not being aware of his intentions. And you know, this is where I play devil advocates, because at the same time we don't know if it's true or not. But definitely the idea that the system, and this should show us that we need to have system to hold us accountable and hold the other ones that are around him, around us, because you might not be aware, and I don't doubt it that he wasn't aware of bad acts that were committed by people that were close to him. And at the same time, there's a responsibility that we all have to, whatever it's under our watch, to make sure we did it. With our children in our house, sometimes we cannot, we don't micromanage their time, but if they are doing the wrong thing in other people's house, we have to be aware, and we are the ones held accountable for that.
And so, which it brings up this topic of internal government, right, in our hearts versus external government. And so, and when you have that internal government, then you don't necessarily need the external government. But with accountability dynamics, there always should be that external government. Those are called policies. Those are called procedures. You know, Alberti, I was meeting with a young leader a number of years ago, probably over 20 years ago, but meeting on a weekly basis with this young leader who happened to work in the government. He was a Christian, and so we'd meet during lunchtime and hang out together, talk. How are you doing? What's been your biggest challenge lately? You know, and talk together, pray together while we have lunch. And he showed up one time and his whole countenance was down. I said, "What's going on? You something wrong?" He said, "I just did something that I shouldn't have done." I said, "What happened?" And he said, "Well, this voucher came down to my desk, and it didn't have the proper signature on it, right? It was blank. And so I took it to my supervisor and asked the supervisor, what should I do with this? The supervisor said, let me call upstairs, you know, to the minister's office. And then the call came back, pass it through. Doesn't have the proper signature. It's a breach of procedure. And this young leader challenged the supervisor, said, sir, why have a standard procedure if we're not going to follow it, right? And the supervisor said, if you value your job, pass it through. And he went back and sat there on his desk for however many hours, and he's questioning, should I pass this through or should I? And finally, out of fear of, you know, okay, am I going to lose my house? I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose everything or whatever. Out of fear, he passed it through. And then he came to meet with me for lunch, and he just felt so convicted, and he actually cried, you know, to me. And so we prayed together, but he made a vow to God. He said, God, I vow I will never do that again. If another one of those comes to my desk, I will refuse to pass it through. And sure enough, you know, another one came through, doesn't have the proper signature, you know, took it to his supervisor. Supervisor called upstairs to the minister. Minister says, pass it through. And he stood up to his supervisor. He stood up and said, sir, I'm sorry, but the Spirit of God which is in me will not allow me to participate with this corruption, right? This is corruption. Why have a standard procedure if we're not going to follow it? I will not participate in that. And so they sent him home, and I think they transferred him to a different department, you know, or something like that. But you know, it's a matter of conscience that we can stand up for what we know is right and not participate in those kind of deals, right?
And that's why for the Lord, knowing that to be just, to be righteous, is going to cost us. That's why he says, look for the for the kingdom of God and his justice, and everything else will come as an add. But sometimes doing the right thing is going to actually affect your bottom line. And it may, and that's what we have to make a promise. And that's why where our belief system has to be right. Because do you prefer to be in good terms with the man or in good terms with God? Because in being a good term with man, that can definitely be a variation. You know, that can vary from government to government. But if you are aligned with the Lord, and you will prefer, we have to trust that He's gonna take care of us.
Yeah.
And sometimes we've been in situations like that. I remember, in case there's any Dominican watching, I was asked to do a commercial for one president. And I got called to the office, to the marketing office and all that, and I didn't know what was the commercial about. I was an actor. It was one of the things that I was doing in the university. And when they say, you have to say that this man, thank you, Mr., because you made me a dignified man. And what? And I wasn't agree, because the country was in a big trouble because of what this president was done. And then they shut the lights, they open up, and somebody in the back says, so if you were in front of the president, what would you say? I was supposed to say, so I said, I didn't say the right thing. So it took me a couple of shots, and I said, hey, please don't call me for this.
Yeah.
And they didn't call me for anything else after that.
Yeah.
But it cost me that opportunity.
It's image management, right? In Belize, we call it optics, right? Well, the optics are not good. The reason why the optics are not good is because something is wrong underneath there, right? And so leaders are concerned about how things are. Politicians are concerned about how they appear. And so,
and I want to rescue, this example of this man, that he wasn't the final leader unto that. And there's always this notion that it's the problem of the people, the persons in the higher positions. But with your example, that doesn't be signed or passed directly by him. There is people in the middle. And who is contributing to all that? Because normally we have the opportunity to be a shield for any of those bad decisions that have been made, and we can just say ourselves, that comes from upstairs. I'm in the middle. What should I do? No, the Bible has so many great examples of people that they live the consequences from doing the right thing, and they had bad consequences. My favorite one is Joseph. I mean, Joseph did the right thing, and for that, he was just cast in prison for many years. He decided just to flee and don't give up to the desires of Potiphar's wife, and because of doing the right thing, he was just punished. But at the same time, we get to see other examples when we see Daniel, throw in the lion's den. When we see Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego sent to the fury, that they decided to stood in the middle of oppression, even that they didn't have any choice, and they decided to do it, and God exalted them. But also at the same time, we have a lot of examples in the followers of Jesus, that they were so convinced that Jesus Christ was Lord because they saw him rose from the dead, that the conviction was, I don't care if I be put on fire because of my belief. So that's a time when we have to check ourselves.
Yeah.
Because it's not all on the people on the top. It's how we react in the places that we are, all the decisions that we do business the wrong way. We have to always be checking our hearts, because it starts with the leadership, but we all have influence in leadership in whatever level we are.
That's right. It's a little bit after 8 o'clock. I was shooting for an 8 o'clock break, but the camera's right in front of the clock, right? And so I have to blame it on the camera, right? Anyways, we're going to take a break.
You were not aware that the camera was there.
That's right. I'm responsible, right? And but anyways, I'm just sharing this because we need to give some space for our sponsors, the ones that help to keep Rise and Shine on the air. We are very, very grateful for them, and we're also very, very grateful for you. Give us a couple minutes. Don't change the channel, and we'll be right back with you.
Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the isles and keys, land of the barrier reef. I love me sweet Belize. If I ever had to leave Belize, where would I go?
Okay, that's good. Oh, hi, and welcome to another 60-second health talk. Today, we're going to be talking about the eye. Our eyes are like sophisticated cameras that helps us to see the world all around us. Light enters through the cornea, the clear outer layer of the eye, and passes through the pupil, the black circular opening. The size of the pupil will adjust to control the amount of light entering. From there, light travels through the lens, which focuses it onto the retina at the back of the eye. The retina is made up of millions of light-sensitive cells, which converts light into electrical signals. These signals are sent to the brain via the optic nerve, where they are interpreted as images. The muscle around the eye helps it to focus and move to track objects. Together, these parts work seamlessly to provide us with vision. But any disruption, such as eye injury or disease, can affect our ability to see clearly. To protect our eyes, wear sunglasses that block UV rays. Use safety goggles when necessary. Take breaks from screens using the 20-20-20 rule. Keep eyes hydrated by blinking often and get regular eye exams to catch problems early. These simple habits help to maintain our overall eye health. Thank you for joining me. This is Madeline Tucker, your medical scientist, here with another 60-second health talk.
Are you looking for financing on equipment, machinery, vehicles, parts, or tools for you or your business? Benquip and Belize Bank have partnered to make purchasing easier than ever with Belize Bank's convenient online loan application platform. Simply apply online, get fast and secure financing, and access the equipment or vehicle you need to keep moving forward. Even better, use the promo code when applying and enjoy a special promotional interest rate exclusively for Benquip customers. Whether you're upgrading your fleet, investing in new machinery, or purchasing essential parts and equipment, now is the perfect time to make it happen. Visit Benquip today and ask about Belize Bank online loan financing.
Serious about your sound? So are we. At Levitza, music isn't just business, it's our vibe. From first-time players to seasoned pros, Belize chooses Levitza. Whether you're a solo artist, band, church, school, or marching band, we speak your language. Experience the crisp keys of a Yamaha, the legendary beat of Pearl and Tama drums, and a premium selection of guitars, mics, mixers, and speakers. We only stock the best. Gear that's built to perform, designed to last, and backed by expert service with a smile. At Levitza, it's about more than the equipment. It's about friendship and the joy of making music. Your passion is our mission. No cash? No worries. Ask about our flexible payment plans. From the mainland to the islands, we ship countrywide. Levitza, the good stuff at better prices.
Welcome to the William David Fonseca Parking Facility, your modern solution for safe and convenient parking in downtown Belize City. With easy payment options such as prepaid cards or coins, parking downtown has never been easier. Enjoy affordable rates as low as 75 cents for 15 minutes, $1.50 for 30 minutes, and $3 for an hour. Open and available 24/7. Park smart. Park safe. Park at the William David Fonseca Parking Facility. Modern, secure, convenient. Your Belize City Council. Always about the people.
Mom. Drop it like it's hot.
So it started off like any other summer day in Belize. I decided to go down to Builders Hardware since I heard they had 25% off on summer outdoor products. I got a couple of items, a chair, a grill, a cooler, and I got carried away, but the prices were so good. But anyways, I might have gotten comfortable maybe too comfortable. Then I saw the news, man, the hurricane season was not playing with me. But thank God, builders also had 25% off hurricane preparedness items as well. Flashlights, batteries, sealant, first aid kits, everything I need. And guess what? My grill survived.
There's a few staples that you need to stick to in order to want to be successful. And I call it my 3 C's. It's communication, it's commitment, and it's consistency. So even if you might not necessarily know where you want to go, you have to make sure you communicate what it is you want to do. And after that communication is clear, then you have to be committed to that communication that you mentioned. And finally, you have to make sure that you're consistent, because there's a small number in the population that's very talented and do not really have to put in the hard work. We did the Super Nationals because we want to see the really good athletes in every district, but we also want to make sure that as a government, we're finding and making sure that the resources that we have as a government goes to the athletes that are trying to do better in life and in school.
Cyber Realty and Development is the leader in providing solutions to the current land crisis in Belize. For homeowners and investors alike, Cyber Realty is offering special deals on half-acre parcels in its new Emery Village development. Enjoy prime land off mile 37 on the George Price Highway at an unbeatable price. All you need is the initial down payment of $275 Belize dollars. Take advantage and reserve your half-acre home sites today. Emery Village. Join the community. Invest in your future.
Blessed Gardens is servicing home gardens across the country from the nation's capital and helping Belizeans reconnect with nature. We have everything you need for your home garden, so get growing. We have various types of soil: fortified soil, composted soil, potting soil, and pure compost for your garden. We have quality seeds and over 65 varieties of food seedlings for your garden. We even have organic insecticides available, EM soil treatment, and Polyshade for your excessive sun or rain. Blessed Gardens has all your garden solution in one location. Call 610-5679. Visit us at the Bumapan Market Plaza or enjoy our free deliveries across the country. Blessed Gardens. Get growing, Belize.
Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the islands and keys, land of the barrier reef. I love me sweet Belize. If I ever had to leave Belize, if I ever had to leave Belize, where would I go? Where would I go? Where would I spread my bed? Where would I lay my head? Nobody know. Nobody know. If I ever had to leave me home, no other place me ever roam could be like Belize. Be like Belize.
Good morning, Belize. Thank you for joining back together with us. We're talking about leadership. We're talking about management. We're talking about some of the things that have ruptured into the news, into the public limelight over these last couple of weeks. I think it would be safe to say, some people would say alleged wrongdoing. I would say some of it is not alleged. You know, I would give the benefit of the doubt because I don't know the amounts of money. I can't tell you how much the Belize Defense Force consumes in vegetables every year, right? And so, but I do know that when family members are getting contracts that are not going out to tender, that right there raises a huge red flag. That's called nepotism, right? And where family members, or then, you know, it extends into political cronies. Contracts aren't going out for tender, but are being awarded to people, and so it doesn't go into the open marketplace for others to be able to bid. And so the dollar amount might be legit, but then the way that that was gone about could actually be criminal. And so, and that's why there are investigations. Ministers have stepped aside or stepped down temporarily during the investigation, and so I just want to say, you know, management, it's extremely important. Alberti, something that one of my heroes, Dr. Miles Monroe, said. He was speaking to leaders in his church and training on leadership dynamics. He said, you know, everybody thinks that the lack of money is always the problem, and it's not. He said that the problem is the lack of management. Management is more important than money. And he said, he brought it right down. He was from the Bahamas, right? He brought it right down to a Caribbean perspective. Some of you guys are asking God for a vehicle, but you can't even take care of your bicycle, right? And so it's the whole thing. That's what the Bible talks about. Faithful in a little, faithful in much. Faithful in the small, faithful in the large, right? And so that management dynamic is extremely important literally in every area. We're not just talking about finances, right? But when you talk about family management, right? And my wife came from a family. Her dad was an alcoholic, right?
Okay.
And so things were kind of in disorder with the family. He was a wonderful person, but just like so many, you know, they have problems, and then because of that, they've got these struggles with alcohol, and that could throw the whole family into chaos and disorder. And so, and then her wonderful mom was a nurse, you know, and nurses work crazy hours sometimes, and some working night shift, and so you've got kids, you know, that need to get up and get to school and all of that kind of stuff, and so the management dynamic was very, very challenging for her, right? And so then we got married. We had our first child, our second child, our third child, our fourth child, our fifth child, you know, and it was juggling, right? And I realized that my wife had a difficulty with the management side of things, right? I realized that she was blank. She didn't necessarily know how to go about doing this. I said, darling, listen, make a list of our daily responsibilities that need to happen around the house, you know. Clean the green bathroom, clean the blue bathroom, sweeping the floor, you know, clearing the table, dishes. Make a list of all of those daily chores, and then make a list of all of the kids, and then make a Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you know, and my wife, when I laid that out for her, she's, oh yes, then she could see it, she could do it, right? And she made this schedule, and it was on her fridge. But then we were away for about 3 months one time, and our first morning back at the house, and my wife told the kids, okay, everybody, check the schedule, and everybody do your responsibilities. And all the kids jumped up, went over to the refrigerator, looked at that schedule and found what they were on, and they went to do it. And my wife came to me, she got right in my face, and she said, Scott, thank you so much for teaching me how, because I didn't know how to do this. But she said, we've been gone for 3 months, and all I had to say was one little command: kids, go check the schedule, and everybody do your responsibilities. And boom, they all went to work. And so I'm sharing that just to say, I realize that, you know, for a lot of us in Belize, maybe we've come from family situations where things were kind of in chaos and disorder. And so, but I'm talking about this because management doesn't just mean about government. It doesn't just mean about managing money. It also means about managing our family, right? And it also means managing our words that come out of our mouth.
Correct,
we are supposed to have control. I would say we do have control, but with some people, I'm not sure if they really have control. They just, just first thing that comes to their mind just flies right out of their mouth. We're supposed to have control over the words that come out of our mouth. That's management, right? Mm-hmm. Management in your marriage, management in your family, management in the church, management in the business, management in the communities, management in the nation. I think I would have to say management is everything, right?
Correct. And it's interesting because whenever you are aware of the value of the things that you're managing and your attachment to them, definitely it's the responsibility and the angle that you take on it is different. With your house, with your resources, we know how easy to stretch it whenever, and how important it is to make sure that every dollar count, every single coin count. And when we have a little more prosperity, if we want to build for the future, again, we will try to do a good administration for our household. But then you go to work for somebody, and depending on your level of connection with that person, probably you will feel a responsibility to be a good steward of that. And it's supposed to be, that's why you know that normally you get to see business owner that they are they are not happy when they see waste material around, because they know the bottom line is for them is how do they control the spending so they can have enough profit for themselves, but also for the people that actually do work for them. And it's interesting that when it comes to the public funds, we should have the same mentality, because those are the funds, or those are the resources that are gonna benefit us, our children, our grandchildren, and the generations to come. But if we are loose with that, because it's everybody's money, so it's nobody's money, so it's whoever's got the grasp of money, and we come to that mentality, definitely the nation suffers. But you get to see that the best ministers and the best administrators in public office are those that have the higher calling of how do I do good administration of the funds that I have with. And just coming back to that example that you said, it all starts in your family. That's why it's important. And you every Wednesday in Rise and Shine, you talk about the importance of family, because those are values that when they come from the core of teaching in your family, those stay with you, and you take your family values to wherever you are at.
Yeah.
But so let's not take it lightly.
That's right.
To have children, because if we have them, let's make sure that we do our job on raising them on the right things.
That's right.
Because that's gonna have consequences on how do you do life.
Yeah, we raised our kids teaching them that there's going to be rules, there's going to be laws, there's going to be policies, there's going to be boundaries for the rest of your life, and so just get used to it, right? And so and that would be my intro to the conversation of these rules that we need to set in relation to our home and our family, right? But it's so true. I would be so bold as to say life doesn't make sense outside the concept of boundaries, right? And we need boundaries. A river that breaks its boundaries is called a flood, and it turns a wonderful life-giving thing turns into a very destructive thing.
Fire, for example.
Fire, same exact way.
Fire control inside a engine block.
Yes.
It just produces movement.
More power.
That's right. That's right. Fire control in your house produce food and being able to feed yourself. But when wildfire without control.
That's right. I speak with young people all the time, and I'll ask them, how many of you guys have fire in your house? And they look at me like, huh? What? You have fire in your house. Did anybody have fire in your house? And I'm, no, we don't have fire. Yes, you do. You have a stove, right? But the stove, provides the boundaries for that fire. It's a controlled fire, and so to keep the fire away from things that could catch fire and burn your whole house down. And so life doesn't make sense without this concept of boundaries. And then when it comes to what's happening with the management of the finances, Alberta, we've talked about this in some of our meetings. It's a big thing. I'm very offended that a $400,000 payment was made, and maybe the thing actually cost $400,000. Maybe it cost $500,000, and they got a good deal on it. I don't know, but a $400,000 payment was made, and it was broken up into 40 something smaller payments of less than $10,000. This is not a mistake. This is deliberate. This is a strategy. And then as Minister Mira needed to step aside or step down, to allow for the investigation, then Minister Marin needed to step down and step aside, because the same pattern of multiple payments, for under 10,000. And then I just saw a quick glimpse. It didn't give much information, but I believe that Minister Cervantes is in a similar type situation. And so, people know about this, they knew what was going on, but somebody didn't stand up and say what I was talking about earlier.
Correct.
You should stand up and say, no, this is a breach of policy. This is a misuse. The purpose of that $10,000 threshold is to where you're not having to run every little smaller expenditure. And so $10,000 is a lot of money to most everybody. But when you're talking about running government, you're talking about millions and hundreds of millions. Our education budget for the year is over $200 million. And so 10,000 and under, that threshold that's like petty cash in that sense. But then you're going to take a $400,000 expenditure and break it down to where it can slip under that threshold. That's a deliberate, deceptive strategy. And somebody should have stepped up and said, no, this is an abuse of that policy. You are turning something which is large cash into 40 different payments of petty cash down at a smaller level. No, I will not participate with this. And if somebody brings this to the higher ups' attention and they don't do anything about it, and if you're in a situation like that in the government, you need to document. You need to document when you brought these things to their attention. On March 27th at 3:30 p.m., I brought this to the attention and name the name of whatever. Keep a document of when you bring these things to their attention, because when heads start to roll and they're going to come for your head, you can document, say, no, I brought this to their attention and they did nothing. Now the axe goes higher up the food chain to the leaders up there, because it was brought to their attention and they did not respond. If somebody brought it to the Prime Minister's attention and he didn't respond, now it goes up even higher, right? So anyways, I'm just saying that to say we have all the laws to run a righteous nation. But laws without enforcement, laws without application are useless. They're just good advice. And one of the things we talk about in leadership, right? A core value that is not practiced and held fast is not a core value. If it's a core value, you got to be living it. You got to be walking it.
Otherwise, it's just something in the wall.
It's just a sign on the wall, right? And so, anyways, you got some thoughts?
No, the thought that I want to say is interesting, because we all love the documentaries of World War I and World War II. And one of the best documentary I remember I saw many years ago, they were asking people in Germany, how was that you were agreeing, you participated with all of this, how were you able to see that you were killing innocents, that you were killing so many Jews, and you did nothing, and doesn't matter the response, but it's interesting for us to take in consideration that a lot of people were watching this injustice and do nothing. And we all have to be accountable in front of God one day, and we have to make sure that we come to our senses and says, well, I prefer just to be okay, don't do anything, to be under the radar and not be affected by that. And one more time, this is a Christian nation, and the idea that God is your command, when you know that the first answer you have to give is first to your Lord, that definitely helped me normally to keep myself humble, and also to, hey, don't you dare to cross some lines. And always, it's in the process that I always making sure, and I fail, but there's sometimes that comes to you opportunities to honor God. The second part is whatever what you do, how does that affect your family name, until justice do its part. I mean, and we have to wait for all the investigations to come. But I understand that nobody wants to put their family in risk of the scrutiny, the public scrutiny, because probably the family of those that are being questioned right now, until a jury verifies it, they're not having a good time. So probably we have to think about it. How am I gonna feel? How's my family? What's the cost that I'm bringing into them for not doing the right thing? But at the same time, the nation. It's interesting that the nations that normally brings more internal investments are those that either break all the laws in order for those that bring external investments they can do whatever they want, or what attracts a lot of investment is when you have good laws, good stewardship, when you know that if I come and I invest my money in this market, I'm gonna get fair treatment. It's gonna be a good justice system, that I'm not gonna be ripped off because the laws in that country are well positioned. That definitely helps. So it's a chain of, first of all, one more time, you hold accountable by your relationship with the Lord, and one day you're gonna have to be in front of Him and answer for what you did and what you did not. Also, how does that cast a shadow, or how does that exalt your family and the people around you? But at the end, the nation definitely it's exalted and move forward because of if we all do the right thing. Not only those that are in leadership, it start with us. Those that have been given leadership roles, we definitely have more responsibility, and we're gonna be held accountable for more. But also anybody, wherever they're at, they have to answer for what they did and what they did not do.
That's right. Alberto, thank you for being with us this morning. Thank you for being here in Belize. We have another appointment that we need to get to, right? And but I just want to encourage everybody. This is my final words this morning. I was going through something, I can't remember what it was, but I talked with Pastor Wade. He's one of my closest friends and accountability buddies, and I was talking with him, and he made a statement to me. He said, Scott, only you can affect your reputation. Mm-hmm. Only you can affect your reputation. And when he said that, I heard the voice of his father, right? Pastor Wade Sr. And because I could tell that Lewis was passing on to me something that had been passed on to him by his father. And this is what I want to say. Our kids are watching. The kids of the nation are watching. I was on outreach one time, and I overheard one of the young people say, I could hardly wait till I become a leader someday. Then I could do whatever I want. Mm-hmm. And I realized right then, I realized that these young people have been influenced by watching what's happening with politicians in our nation. They just get to do whatever they want. They can break whatever rules. The rules and the laws are actually for the opposition. It's not for the ones that are in power. It's just for the opposition. It only applies to the opposition. Not so, right? And so it comes and it spins back around. And so said, so done. We're right there, right now. We pray for righteousness in our nation. Pray for all of the auditors. If there's any interference from government or mandates that are given that would not allow auditors to go where the evidence leads, that's the time to stand up and say, I will not participate. Either I'm going to audit or I'm not going to audit. And if you're going to dictate to me where I can audit and where I cannot audit, I'm going public with this. That's what's needed. That's a sign of true leadership. And Belize needs true leaders. So folks, we just want to encourage you. That's why we're talking about this morning. Everything rises and falls on the shoulders of leadership. And that leadership means management. It's setting standards. It's setting protocols. It's setting things to help us keep the vehicle on the road. We don't want to drop in the right ditch and we don't want to drop in the left ditch. We want to drive on the road and we want to take our nation somewhere. So thank you for joining us this morning, Alberti.
Thank you
wonderful
so
to
much.
have you. And these are wonderful times to be able to talk about some of the things that are happening, the way that things are, and the way that God wants it to be. And that space in between, that's called the gap. That's why the Bible says, I sought for a man who would stand in the gap so that destruction would not come upon the land. Let's step into that place. Let's pray, but let's also call for righteousness. We need better. So
Amen.
For all of us here at PlusTv and Rise and Shine, we're grateful to you all. We're grateful to our sponsors. Thank you for the staff. Thank you for the technicians. Thank you for Pastor Wade and his wife and their leadership. And we're just blessed beyond measure. Always blessed to be together with you all. Thank you for welcoming us into your homes. And we will be back together with you this upcoming week. Have a wonderful weekend and live your life with wisdom. God bless.
God bless you.
Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the islands and keys, land of the barrier reef. I love me sweet